This kick can decide it all. The nation holds its breath. Yes,
Hi and welcome back to the podcast. Today we're going to be talking about a player called Andrew Moran, a 19-year-old midfielder currently at Brighton. He's one that's been on the radar in Ireland for a while now, but I suppose I was thinking maybe to do a podcast on him, maybe not, because our podcasts are mostly to do with the road less travelled, i.e. going abroad as opposed to just going to England or Scotland, which obviously England, Scotland for a player is probably the best option, but everyone else is doing that already. So our niche is, places that maybe wouldn't be well travelled routes by Irish players in the past. So that was the only reason didn't do a podcast to date on Andrew Moran, but got a suggestion there from the Tweeting Seagull. Well, he did a piece on Andrew, he or she did a piece on Andrew Moran, and there was one bit in it there that I didn't know about, so hence why we're doing the podcast now. So thanks to the Tweeting Seagull, very good piece, and I'll have the description in the a link to his piece in the subscription and his Twitter. So anyway, Andrew Moran, he's a 19-year-old midfielder, attacking midfielder from Knocklyon in Dublin, and he's, as I said, he's currently with Brighton, and he made his debut in January for Brighton. So he started his career at local side Knocklyon United, not too far from Tala, and from there he moved to Saint-Gilloise as a kid, who are a feeder team for League of Ireland side Bray Wanderers, where he subsequently went thereafter, joining their academy. In August 2019, as only a 15-year-old, you heard right, he made his first team debut for Bray Wanderers in the First Division, in a match against Drogheda United. Go on, Drogheda. And now the First Division, for anyone that's not from Ireland, the First Division is the second division in Ireland, but there's only the Premier and the First Division, so there's only two divisions in Irish top football, the pyramid. So yeah, unbelievable for a 15-year-old to be playing professional football anywhere, let alone the second division in Ireland for Bray Wanderers as well, a big club in Ireland. So in February 2020, in a 2-0 win against Wexford, he scored, and in doing so became the youngest ever scorer for Bray Wanderers at just 16. In July 2020, he left Bray for Brighton Hove Albion at 16 years old, with 3 First Division appearances for Bray between February and July of 2020. Obviously, he would have made more appearances, you'd imagine, if not for COVID, which hit during that time. So he joined Brighton bang in probably just after the first wave of COVID restrictions. Not a great time to go away, because you're just leaving home as a 16-year-old. You're only young and you can't travel back to Ireland. I'm not sure about England, but it didn't appear to be. I know it was locked down everywhere in the world, but in Ireland it was very, very strict. So whether or not you would have been able to travel if you had been allowed from England, but definitely it was very, very hard to get in or out of Ireland, even to go down for a bottle of milk. You get arrested by a SWAT team. But so he went into the Brighton Academy and did well in his first year. Now he's very I've heard the terms Messi, Maradona bantered around, but if you look at highlights of his football, yeah, he really is. He likes to run at players, run around, little touches. You know, he's very skilled, exciting player to watch, and as I said, a lot of assists and a lot of goals in him. So anyway, in April 2021, he started getting linked with big Premiership teams like Man United and Chelsea. Obviously, you'd want to stay away from Chelsea at the moment, but back then the war hadn't started, so it was still a great place to go for young players, especially. They must have seen, I don't know why they were circling when he was already at Brighton and he'd only just joined. So maybe they saw some opportunity or some gap in his contract or something. I don't know the details of why they all thought they could get him, which you'd imagine wouldn't be the case. But as a result, Brighton sealed him up by signing him to his first professional deal with them in July 21, which was further renewed in August 22, so August last year, 3-year extension. And then in April, just gone last month, a further 4-year deal, which now brings him up to the 30th of June 2027. So really Brighton, you know, the first professional deal isn't unstandard. The second one, you know, they're firming up somebody they think is going to be a star, and then obviously sign them again just April gone. So they obviously really highly rate him. It clearly shows faith from both the club has in him and also he has in the club, because you wouldn't tie yourself up to such a long contract if you didn't, if you felt, you know, you weren't going to play there, or it wasn't your final destination. Maybe not his final destination, but because by 27, what's that, 4 years away, you'd only be 23. So yeah, you know, obviously he sees his future, however long that will be with Brighton. But you know, 23, Brighton, such a good level. Why would you want to go anywhere else? It's great for developing young players. The current manager as well, he has a lot of faith in young players. So anyway, he made his debut with Brighton in the League Cup match against Cardiff in a 2-0 win on the 21st of August in 21, coming on as a sub. And in January of this year, he made his Premiership League debut as a sub, again in a 4-1 victory over Everton on the 3rd of January. These have been the only 2 appearances for Brighton so far at senior level. Perhaps this is Saturday now, the last day of the season is tomorrow. Maybe he might make an appearance, get on the bench. He's been on the bench a fair few times for them, so maybe he might make the bench tomorrow. But again, he is highly thought of at the club, and one they see obviously as perhaps not perhaps breaking into the first team right this very second, but one who is definitely breaking into the team in the not too distant future. So, you know, I expect he'll be a lot more involved next season with them if he doesn't go out on loan. So next season, that leads us into it, he will either be involved in the first team set up at Brighton or go on loan, you'd imagine, because it'd be more beneficial for Brighton as well as him, but Brighton obviously looking after not just the player but more themselves as well, and how to develop a player. There looks like there's going to be 2 or 3 people moving on from Brighton, so they'll create opportunities. They're also involved in Europe. So where would he go? You know, on loan. There's lots of options. Just, you know, you'd imagine usually a Premiership team, a player will go on loan, maybe lower leagues in England or Scotland, and then just before they're ready to break in to the first team, they go to the Championship on loan maybe. But for him, I think no lower than the Championship. There's already rumours of Stoke, Blackburn and Swansea looking at taking them, who are all established championship teams. None of them in the playoffs, but none of them anywhere near relegation either, as far as I'm aware. So yeah, all of those have an Irish contingent, and all of them would be good development for him if he was getting week in, week out involvement, minutes. There's no point going anywhere really if you're going to just be sitting on a bench and not playing. So you can do that at Brighton. Again, he's already been involved at Brighton, and next season you'd imagine he'd be more involved. So if that's all that's going to happen, they're probably only going to loan him somewhere that he's going to be playing week in, week out, if not starting week in, week out. So that would usually be the normal appealing option. But, and this is what got me doing the podcast, there is a few other potential, well, really one front runner potential loan move. There's Vitesse, which Brighton have done a lot of loan deals with recently, but maybe the front runner, if he was to leave Brighton, would be Belgium top division Pro League team, a team called Royal Union saint-gilloise. Again, apologies to anyone from Belgium, I know I butchered that. They finished the regular season in second. Belgium have a bit of a different league system. They have a regular season, and then they have what they call the championship, I believe, round. So Royal Union, they finished second, even on points with Genk, and only second due to goal difference. So they really were as close as you can get to winning the regular season. And then in the championship round, which is still going on, as checked yesterday, now maybe there's matches today, I don't know. I presume there is I think they go into June, but early June. But they're again second, level on points with 2 games remaining, second to Antwerp. So again, as close to being first as you can possibly get without being first. Why would he go there, you may ask? And this is thanks again to my friend on Twitter who had a great article, and this is how I know about it. They're owned by Tony Bloom, who also owns Brighton. And while they say they're around as separate entities, separate operations, I should say, one would imagine it would be a good fit for both player and both clubs. So it looks like a very likely opportunity. For the player, it would offer an immediate route into top flight first team football with Champions League football, hopefully, if that's not already guaranteed, for him and for the clubs. Obviously Brighton get to blood a player they see as a prized jewel now, as opposed to maybe slowly over next season if he was to stay at Brighton. So next season at the very highest level in the Belgium League and in Europe, in hopefully the Champions League. So, after a season he could come back even stronger, go straight into their first team as a proven top flight pro. And for Union, obviously they get a high level player who costs them nothing, helps them strengthen their squad, scores goals, creates assists, for which will be a very busy season for them next season. As I said, Vitesse is another team that Brighton have done business with in the past, so I wouldn't rule it out, but I'd say the championship teams staying at Brighton, if he's more involved next season, or more likely Royal Union saint-gilloise, would be better options, because Vitesse are a mid-table Dutch team with no European football, as far as I know, next season, unless they've won a cup or something. So yeah, Union would definitely be a way better move for him. with where they are as a club at the moment, and also put him in the shop window again for him. And Brighton, no offence to them, they are a selling team. They do a very good business. Every year they sell a couple, they bring in a few, and they're just a well-run, oiled club, really. They must make huge profits the last few years, the way they've done business, and they haven't really missed anyone they've let go because they've had people coming up in the wings to replace them. So yeah, I mean, they're definitely an example for a lot of teams now. And hopefully if he went to Union anyway, he'd get the minutes and the time, and hopefully starts. In respect of international football, again, it would appear, you can never say 100% on anything in life or in football, but it would appear it's just a matter of time when Moran is going to be involved in the senior Irish setup. He has represented Ireland at basically all levels up until now, with the exception of the senior side. And, he's not going to get into the senior side without regular first team football. And that's fair enough and understandable. He has thus far represented Ireland at under 15s, 16s, 17s, 19s and 21s, where he is at the moment. Now, he wouldn't be in the 21 side up until now. He's been in squads and then out of squads. But you'd imagine now he's going to be a mainstay in the under 21 side. At only 19, he still has a minimum of 3 years at under 21s level, which again, with Ireland, that's a fairly high level now. The under 21s. So if he doesn't break into the senior setup before then, so he has worst case scenario 3 years of under 21s football, international under 21s football, before he breaks into the senior team. Again, I wouldn't imagine it's gonna be 3 years before this guy breaks into the Irish senior setup. But either way, it's a great scenario for them. Worst case scenario, you get 3 years of under 21s international football. It's not a bad gig, is it? For his career. What the future holds for him, I'd imagine he stays at Brighton for the duration of his contract. They probably renew it again, and then when he's around 25 and a main fixture for Brighton, they sell him on for a huge price. But next season, if I was to guess, he stays at Brighton. He becomes more involved with the first team and gets more minutes. That would be, I'd imagine, what would happen. Like, he has been on the bench numerous times, and he has played for them in the Premiership and in the League Cup. So you can only imagine next season, and they're in Europe. So you can only imagine next season, and they have a manager that plays youth. If he play anyone if they're good enough. So I'd imagine that's what's going to happen next season. If not, I'd say the second option, as I said, is Belgium, where he's going to hopefully be playing week in, week out domestically and in the Champions League next season. If he goes to Belgium and he's playing and starting week in, week out, and in the Champions League, it'll be hard enough for him to force his way into the senior Irish setup. Then if he was to stay at Brighton, depends how much football he plays. If he went to the Championship and he was playing week in, week out again, that would probably force him. I'd say that's the third option. But anyway, he's got lots of options, which is a great scenario for a 19-year-old. Every option is a great option for him. He's really, there's no negatives at the moment. Just needs to get first team football next season, and the more he gets at a high level, the better for him personally, and the better for Brighton, from the point of they develop their player, from the point of they're increasing the marketability if they ever decide to sell him, you know, and the transfer fee they could get. So it's a win-win for everybody. What happens, his future, whatever happens, his future is probably destined to be at the top level, whether that's Brighton or above. But we shall see. But either way, all great news for, again, Ireland, and all the best to Andrew Moran. Thanks for listening.